Hey PV, welcome to Community Connection. I'm Alex Walker. Ever wonder how you can go green? Well, today we'll show you how with ABC Solar and Bradley Bartz. Well, tell us a little bit about who is supplying your solar panels and how you went about finding them.
Sure. We had used a company named ABC Solar for our other house. They put up about 36 panels for our other house last year, and we were quite happy with the installation. It wasn't an easy installation. It was actually on steel I-beams above the pool. And we were happy the way that came out aesthetically and the way it turned out from an energy perspective. We have basically no energy bill. So we used ABC again for this house, and Brad Bartz is the owner of ABC Solar, and we found him to be, quite good when it comes to interesting challenges like this one or our other house. So it worked out well, I think.
If you could just explain a little bit about the history of this house and its reasons for going green.
Sure. My wife and I have always been modern architecture enthusiasts, and we love Palos Verdes. We moved here from the New York area. But we couldn't find many modern houses here. So we have a house on Colt Road that's also a flat-roofed modern house. And when this one came up about 6 months ago, we sprung for this one as well. Just to say something a little bit about the house itself, this house is from 1964. It was designed by an architect named Foster Rhodes Jackson, who was a fellow and student of Frank Lloyd Wright's. And it's a flat roof modern house. It's all open to the elements and the sky and the ocean view. And interestingly enough, in '64, it was an all-electric house. I was told by the sons of the original owners and builders of this house that his parents didn't want any mold, any dust, any wind blowing through ducts, anything like that. So they decided to go all-electric, which meant the heating is simply wiring in the ceilings. It also has an electric water heater, and there's no gas supplied to the house. So we had energized our other house about 12 minutes from here on the other side of the peninsula with solar panels. And we thought, it would be great to do this one too, especially since it's an all-electric house. So our hope is that this very modern and somewhat novel tracking system will supply all the electrical needs of the house. We're not living here yet. Our sons may end up living here. We hope they'll move here. But the solar as you will see as you get your tour from Brad, this solar system is actually a tracking system. It follows the sun, and you get about 30 to 40% more electricity out of that than you would with a normal stationary solar panel system.
Okay, and just how much electricity for your house is being provided from the sun?
Well, this should end up generating about 4,500 watts. Okay, and that should be more than enough to cover the house. Now, if we get a cold day in the winter and we crank up all this in-ceiling heater wiring, I don't know if it'll keep up, but it should. As it stands now, under normal conditions, it should be more than enough to power the whole house.
So, Brad, tell us a little bit about your company.
Well, ABC Solar is a small solar electric company based in Rancho Palos Verdes. We founded the company back in 2000 during the energy crisis when I could look over the expanse of Los Angeles and see a bunch of naked roofs. And so with my telescope, instead of looking up at the sky, I kept seeing dollars on all these naked roofs. So when I started, I went to some of the old timers in the business, and they were all pure solar geeks. And so I fell in love with them, and they were kind enough to teach me some of the old tricks, as long as I pass on that information, and I do, to other folks.
Okay, if you want to dispel some of the myths out there about solar panels, because in the past they've been very cumbersome, very big, expensive to install, and most people don't understand the cost benefits of putting them on their homes.
Well, solar panels are a very high-tech device. They've been around for about 40 years. They're primarily used in space, where some of the most America's best scientists have been put to work inventing these panels so that we can keep satellites and TV live and in space. And then over the years, the price per watt has come down to such a level that we're now in the consumer revolution of solar. So Mr. Brill's house, for example, now will be a zero energy home, and these panels will pay for themselves in about 8 years. And they come with a 25-year warranty that says they'll be working at 80% of what they're doing today in 25 years. So after 8 years, he's got literally another 20, 25, 30 years of electricity free of charge. So the panels, there's some of the myths and, the misconceptions that I see about them are, well, when the first time I had a system inspected in Rancho Palos Verdes, the inspector said, "Where does the water go?" So I had to explain, that we're working with light, not heat, and we're making electricity. One of the other myths about solar panels that I think is very interesting is Mr. Brill will make more energy here in the same light than you would in Barstow. And the common misconception is, oh, the desert, great place to go for solar. Well, it's not, because this is an electronic device, and so the hotter it gets, the less efficient it is. Here in 70-degree perfect Palos Verdes, these are operating at their laboratory maximum efficiency. So it's another misconception that people have, that the desert is better. No, it's actually right here in Palos Verdes.
Okay, I bet a lot of consumers want to know how much the initial installation cost is going to be of installing a solar panel system.
Well, for homes that don't have air conditioning or don't use it all the time, like around here, you're looking at about $30,000 to install a system before rebates and tax credits. And the rebates and tax credits bring it down another $10,000 to a $20,000 investment. So the way I've been explaining it recently is because Edison's rates are so high, this is a better investment than your cash deposits. So by taking your money and moving it into solar, you're getting a better rate of return. You're not paying Edison, and you're saving the environment. Mr. Brill's system will cut back almost 8,000 pounds of carbon a year from his footprint. And again, have a zero bill. And for Mr. Brill, luckily enough, he's what we call a very early adopter. This is the first rooftop installation with tracking systems. So before this, they were always installed on poles. So a great company in Washington called JX Crystals invented this, ring and this setup to allow us to have tracking on the sun, which I think Mr. Brill may have told you increases productivity 30 to 40%. And so Eric has been leading the way with these installations, and I get to learn through the process, and luckily enough, I'm able to find great technology and put it here.
Well, if we have homeowners out there that would like to install a solar system, what are some of the first steps they need to take to do so?
The first thing you want to look at is your bill over the last 12 months, and you want to get your average kilowatt hour usage a day. Basically, for those of you that like math, each 1 kilowatt of solar panels, which is about 6 of these, will generate 150 kilowatt hours per month. So if you take that number 150, divide it into your average, that's the size of system that you need. And the other variation is, what is your goal? There's 2 goals in going solar. One is saving the most money. 2 is the environment and going to zero. The first goal, you want to look at your bill and target half of it, because Edison has 5 tiers of electricity rates. The more you use, the more you pay. So the highest ROI is cutting off the first half, which is all the most expensive electricity. And then if your target is zero, we target down to zero. Like Mr. Brill's homes are zero energy users. And they're going to get to buy more toys in the future because they have a little bit of surplus, which is nice, because Mr. Brill has taken his system not only in producing energy, but he's using something called time of use metering. So for every credit he's putting back into the system, he's getting 1.8. So it's a game of arbitrage. So when you're thinking about taking your home solar, you want to look at what your bill looks like, what your roof looks like. Now, in my industry, we say south is best, east and west are 10% less. So if you want to put them on your north roof, I'll put them in your garage. So it's a wide range that we can work with for installing your system. And there's no worries about art juries. There's no worry about planning. California state law says no local government shall stop solar installations based on aesthetic reasons. So if you live anywhere where you have to go through planning, I'm your guy to walk you right through the system. And sometimes they grumble, most of the time they don't. You know, Rancho Palos Verdes has been terrific. They don't promote that they're green, but their behavior behind the counter is proof to me that they're pushing it forward. Because if you look at other cities, even Redondo Beach, unfortunately, they put up roadblocks. So it takes 8 weeks to get a permit. Glendora, the same thing. Here, Rancho Palos Verdes, they know the solar panels are 3 pounds per square foot. It's very, very light over a roof. And they just approve it over the counter. And so that allows us to get solar in quickly and get it working and installing. So, you know, I just thanks, and also for Palos Verdes Estates, because they are very good, and their art jury is very good too, because they know the rules we play in, but we still want to design as best we can to what they like to see.
That sounds great. A little bit about these credits. Most people think that if you produce zero energy and you produce extra, it goes back to the telephone poles, but you don't get paid by the company. You get credits that you can use later if it's rainy or cloudy or during the winter. Is that correct?
Right. So the basic concept is during the day you're going to make more energy than you use. At night you use the credits. But the better way to look at it is during the summer you're going to have a huge surplus. And then you're going to be using that in the winter. So the credit is actually, I think, one of the most important things. It's a 100% efficient battery. You put 1 credit in, you get 1 credit out. Or if you're like Eric and you use arbitrage, you put 1 credit in, you get 1.8 out. And so you get to play a little bit with it. But they won't pay you beyond your 100% of usage. So we're always very careful to design the systems up to that max point, but not over, because we have no desire of giving away the electricity. We're trying to solve an energy problem for the consumer so that they're saving money and then getting into solar and then won't get frustrated when they overbuild and where's my check?
Okay, Mr. Bartz, explain to us a little bit about what composes and makes up a solar panel system.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Alex, because, you know, when you're looking at these systems, when you first look at them, it looks very complicated. But to me, it's 3 parts. You have solar panels, you have wire, you have an inverter. And we try to keep it that simple. The solar panels generate the electricity, the wires carry the electricity, the inverter changes the electricity. In this system, if you notice the blue box that we have up here, this box, Alex, is the tracker for the sun. So it has 3 dials on it that are seeing the sun, and it knows which way to point. So in the morning, this panel set will be pointing east off this direction, and then all day long it'll be spinning around to where now it's south-southwest, and then ultimately to west. This is achieved, if you see down here in that black box, all the magic is down there. So inside of there I've got 2 tiny little squirrels and some peanuts. No, I'm sorry. That's too elementary. Inside the box is a motor and a bunch of gears, and the gears allow the entire array to turn on this mechanism. And by turning and following the sun, we're increasing the production by 30 to 40% on the system. So typically this system would generate about 700 kilowatt hours a month. It should do about 1,000, which is a big increase of power. And you know, the panels in this case, the panels are multi-silicon. If you look down here at the panels, each one of those little parts is a 1/2 volt. And what's interesting, no matter how big the cell size is, it's a 1/2 volt. And so the larger it is, it has more power, but the voltage is consistent. So in the morning, the voltage goes to its peak, and then during the day, it does a nice curve of power production. And because of the tracking, the curve is flatter and then drops off at the end. So it makes for more production.
Okay, and then a spinning system like this is really only available on a flat rooftop? Is that how it works?
Right, it's available on a flat rooftop. Again, this is the first residential system with a flat rooftop. There are some in Korea and some in the state of Washington. Otherwise, tracking is done on a pole. Because if you look at the carousel, we have a mixed match of parts going here in order to support the structure, just to be able to mount to mimic being a pole. And so all this extra work and design is, trying to act like a pole. And that's what makes it so unique.
Well, the sun's out here, so I hope you know how to use solar energy better. Thanks for joining us for Community Connection. For RPV City TV, I'm Alex Walker.